Hey guys, it is Tristan with Nerdette's NewsStand, and we've talked a lot this week about specific characters, about Halloween, about different origin stories, and with today being Halloween, I thought we would kind of top it all off with one character who actually got her origin from her Halloween costume. And I love this origin. She definitely is one of the better characters, and I just talked about Batgirl number 50 and how Cecil Castellucci absolutely castrated that entire comic. So let's talk about one that's good. Let's talk about one where we see Barbara Gordon actually get her costume from a Halloween masquerade, right? And this goes all the way back to her origins, to her very first appearance, which was in Batgirl Detective Comics 359 in January of 1967. So we are going back quite a ways. And the funny thing is, I was rereading this, right? Looking over it, and the stories have changed so much. Back then, it felt very carefree and fun. They would put little, editor's notes in that, piqued your interest. They would also put in almost like an ad break that would, come back next time. And I really like the way the old comics feel. I like the way they're written. I like how they're just a simple, straightforward story telling you about, Killer Moth and Batgirl and Robin and Batman all getting into a bunch of trouble, right? And it's so much simpler. It's so much different than it is now, but there is also, benefits to a newer story. We see more gritty now. We see a little bit darker, a little more adult. So there's pros and cons to both types of writing, but let's talk about Batgirl. The whole reason she got her start was in a story called The $1 Million Debut of Batgirl. And she was secretly planning to attend a masquerade, a Halloween masquerade, dressed as Batgirl. All she was doing was gender flipping Batman, and that's how she came up with her costume. Unfortunately, on the way there, we see the supervillain Killer Moth and the Moths show up and actually intercept Batgirl. She spots Killer Moth actually attacking Bruce Wayne. Now, when she goes and intervenes during the fight, she's able to let Bruce Wayne kind of escape for a second so he can turn into Batman. And that's another thing I love about these comics. They were more during the early days, right? And they simply showed you every single bit. We actually see during the second half of this comic, we see Batgirl suiting up. We see how she got it on. And it's really interesting because the way they go through it is, look, her skirt turns around and now she has a cape. Her purse goes inside out and she makes it a utility belt. I love the way they actually did that, and I think it would benefit some of the newer comics to go back to something so simplistic. But anyways, we see Bruce Wayne actually be able to get his costume on and the villains escape, right? But during that time, they actually kind of get that introduction, and they find out that this is all coming from threats from the Killer Moth. And from the Killer Moths, there's a group, and I think there's 3 of them. But they actually find out that they're trying to extort Bruce Wayne and other billionaires in the area for money, right? And even doing, looking at this, at that time it was $100,000, so I put it in the calculator to adjust for inflation, and it's inflated so much. It was, I believe, about $750,000, about $780,000. $100,000 was at that time. And then there was in this book, they talk about an actual book that Bruce Wayne orders. And it says, in 1947, this one went for $150,000, I believe it was. And it's really cool how they put that stuff in there. But now that book would be worth over $1 million. So I find it funny to look back at simple stuff like that. But we do see Barbara, in the meantime, really working on who she is as Batgirl. They find out what's going on. Killer Moth is extorting millionaires and getting $100,000 from the elites within Gotham. And, she's working on her taekwondo or jujitsu. I don't remember exactly which one it is. And that's when this book comes in. Bruce ordered a very special book to him, and he loves this rare book. So, being that it was such an expensive book, and Barbara is a librarian, and I love just beautiful how the old drawings are. She actually takes the book over to him and delivers to it personally. Well, when she walks in, she sees Bruce Wayne dead, or so she thinks, right? And that's what I'm talking about. These little ad breaks almost. It says, is Bruce Wayne dead? Continue reading for the unexpected development. Dun dun dun. And it's just really cute how they do that. So we do see Batgirl go in there, and she foils the Killer Moth's plans, and then we see Robin and Batgirl. And I love some of these different little things, right? Some of it would absolutely not be allowed today. Some of it would be just abhorrent. Women would cry, right? I'm not gonna let a girl do this to me. Or there's one part when the Killer Moths say, you should be sewing. Like, it's just cute. Missing those kind of little puns that we saw before, right? And, Babs does beat them up, unfortunately foiling Robin and Batman's plans simply because they were going to, follow him back, right? They were going to follow him back and find out where the head honcho Killer Moth is. So actually, it happens that they are able to put a tracker, Batgirl does, and Batman is able to follow that tracker that has no bearing on science, but it's pretty funny to see them get into Killer Moth's actual lair and, just in this anti-gravity thing. And that's as simple as it is. That's as simple as it was back then. They are in an anti-gravity field, and now they are floating, and Batgirl has to save them by magnets. Like, it makes no sense, but it's so fun at the same time, right? So we do see her get them down, and they are able to take down the first two Killer Moths, and they're looking for the lead player here, right? And we see Batgirl walking around, and they're not sure exactly what she's doing. And Batman does figure it out, but she's literally using her nose like a dog because she can smell her perfume on Killer Moth from their previous fight, and she finds him by smelling him out. Like, it was so easy back then. It really was. But then we see, Commissioner Gordon, obviously her father, congratulate both Batman and Robin and Batgirl, saying, you're a welcome addition to the team. Well, then, back at Barbara's home, we see her father talking to her, right? And he says, well, that Batgirl, she's top notch, she's great. Why couldn't you be more like her? I love it, but it's like, they definitely changed a little bit when it comes to the chauvinistic comments there, right? And she's like, well, if he only knew, with a little grin on her face. But there's definitely some wording in here that would not be accepted nowadays. But it is fun to actually look back and see when anything was a go, how comics were treated. And I really love this story. I didn't know until I actually was going to do an Etrigan origin video, and I still am, but I wanted to do that for Halloween. Well, it was taking too long, so I decided to look into something very simplistic. Batgirl, she simply got her costume in the very first issue she ever appeared by making a Halloween costume, and it was so fitting for what today is. And I really, really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the beauty of the simplistic arts, the beauty of telling a simple, straightforward story that meant nothing besides to tell you a story. There was no politics, there was no BS, there was just a fun story. And the way things have changed since then, in some ways it is beneficial, but this was just a fun story. And seeing how Babs got her first actual Batsuit is pretty fun. I do know, though, that this was during the time that we saw Adam West. His Batman had been very, very popular. And the show producer went to Julia Schwartz at the time and said, we need a female. We need to bring in more female readership or viewership, because he was on the actual show, and said, hey, create a character that can work alongside these guys and not be, because we had Batwoman, Kathy Kane, but she was created simply as a love interest. Well, we see Batgirl created simply to bring in more viewers to the Adam West show, and it actually worked out tremendously well, because now we have a great story and a great origin, right? So let me know, of course, what you guys think. Let me know what you guys did for Halloween, if you did anything fun or special, or if you dressed up like Batwoman yourself, or Batgirl or Catwoman. Let me know either way, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. Hey guys, I want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon and subscribe stars. You guys literally make this channel possible. Huge thank you to Cage the Mick, Robert Mick Twiz, Black Knight Fool, Brucey, Chris Z, David L, David Rafford, Jeffrey Allen Carnes, Mighty Paws, Mike Buckner, Maizen Barbosa, Ruskar, Ryan Decker, Robert Hoffman, and Doc Holliday. You guys are absolutely amazing, and thank you so much for all your support. Don't forget on the way out to like as always if you enjoy the content, and hit subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.